Um, he was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise and I was like, I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep. And about midnight I got up and I went to bed. And 6 o'clock I went to wake him up for
About midnight I got up and went to bed.
School Monday morning. And that's when he wasn't here.
What was
asked if I could go and pick her up, and I did. And so we went and did that. We went to BJ's. Had a good time there. He ate a colossal popcorn. Came home to put groceries away because we bought snacks because, he's 15 and snacks. We went to the bowling alley. And then from there we went to dinner. Came home. He took out the trash because that's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. He's come out of his room where he was playing. And he said, "All right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. I love you." And went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise and I was like, I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep. And about midnight I got up and I went to bed. And 6 o'clock I went to wake him up for school Monday morning. And that's when he wasn't here.
What was going?
Took away all the crap. Is just a simple, we have a 15-year-old autistic child that is missing. And unfortunately, the best part about it is he has managed to do this without any evidence left behind whatsoever. That is the most unique aspect of this case.
Did you hear?
The best part was that he left no evidence.
He's never run. He said, "Good night, Mom. I love you."
Katie says she went to wake up Sebastian around 6 a.m. Monday for school, and he was gone. Within minutes, Katie says she was on the phone with Chris, who was working out of town, and they quickly called 911.
And he's not a runner. He's never run away before. I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out that door.
I mean, he's a good kid. He's not a mischievous child by any means.
Katie and Chris say Sebastian is not on.
We got home. Everything was pretty normal. He was playing in his room. When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom. I love you." Say goodnight to his puppies. A little bit later, I wound up going to bed, and when I woke him up for school, he wasn't there.
When I woke him up for school, he wasn't there. I told you guys, she said it in one of her interviews. That's how she said it. Notice in this interview, no mention of a thud. But she said it in the other interview. And then she didn't say it in another interview. Too many inconsistencies.
When I woke him up for school, he wasn't there. That's an interesting statement, and lots of people have commented that on my previous videos, saying that the mom said that. And it is a strange statement, because if someone's not there, you can't wake them up for school. If she said I went into his room to wake him up for school and discovered he wasn't there, that would make more sense.
Told you.
So why did she say that? It could be that this story is fabricated. Right? So your imagination is a lot weaker than your memories. So if you scripted a story of what you did that morning, let's say she and Chris sat down and said, okay, here's what you're going to say. You're going to say you went into his room to wake him up for school. he wasn't there, you panicked. That could explain a small mess up like that, where she says something that doesn't technically make sense. Kind of like how the McCann said, well, we went into Madeline's room and found her not there. It doesn't make sense. You don't find something that's not there. You might realize she wasn't there, or you might find an empty bed, but you don't find someone who's not there. And there's a whole analysis behind that if you want to watch my McCann's playlist. But suffice to say, that is a strange statement. I recognize it as such, but we need multiple signs of
bed. He said, I love you, Mama, and he said, I love you, puppies. A little later in the evening, I myself went to bed, and when I went to wake him up for school, he wasn't here.
Did you hear Katie say about Sebastian, quote, he was playing when he went to bed, when I told him to go to bed. So she catches herself there. She says, when he went to bed, and then she quickly changes it to, when I told him to go to bed. She also says a little later, I myself went to bed. So I do feel like she caught herself and that perhaps she had deviated from a narrative, maybe.
And notice in this one, she said it correctly. When I went to wake him up for school. All these different interviews they've done, they word things differently in each interview. And that, to me, shows they were trying to follow a script and they kept switching things up.
I understand from previous statements you've made that you went to bed around midnight. Is that correct?
It is.
And to you, Mr. Proudfoot, Chris Proudfoot, did you also go to bed at midnight or before or after?
No, ma'am. We went to bed around the same time because we were on the phone together.
And
He was not home.
please excuse any of my questions.
She just had to throw that in there. He was not home. She wasn't even asked that question. She didn't ask that question.
You were up till midnight. You were reading something. What were you reading?
A chapter for school.
A chapter for school. Are you in school?
I was, yes, ma'am. I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Business administration.
Gotcha. Where do you go to school?
DeVry.
At midnight, after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone, you put the dogs away in a cage, a crate, inside the home, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Okay. Do you normally?
Not typically. Since he's gotten older, I've not been checking on him as frequently throughout the night because normally he's good to go in his room once he goes to bed.
Earlier, you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
just a thud.
A thud.
Just a thud.
You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there. Go to bed. Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep.
So you heard his voice at 10 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what the sound actually was?
I do not, no.
If he were to go out his window, what would he step on?
This is the most descriptive she got. She said, I thought maybe he fell out of bed. Or I asked him if he fell out of bed. But then she says, it was just a thud. Just a thud. It was loud enough you could hear it.